Hello, thank you for attending. We are at the 2017 Undergraduate Student Government Debate. We'd like to thank Undergraduate Student Government for having us out to put on the event. The debates are moderated by The Observer and hosted by The Observer, and the video is brought to you by Rough Rider Productions. So the first debate we're going to start with is for the Vice President of Academic Affairs. We have Prince Ghosh and Jonathan Stebbins. So you guys each have 1 minute for opening statements. Prince, you are first.
Hi everyone, my name is Prince Ghosh and I'm running to be re-elected as your Vice President of Academic Affairs. The biggest things that I want to focus on this year are things that are rampant issues around campus: retention, the cost of tuition, faculty and student interactions, and advising, amongst so many other things. At the beginning of the speech and in my letter of intent, I said I want to be your next Vice President of Academic Affairs. And I think that's the biggest thing. This isn't about me. This isn't about us up here. This is about each and every one of you, the students of Case Western Reserve. I want to do what's best for all of you, and I want to serve you all in the best way that I can. I think this past year has been tremendously successful, and I want to keep that going. I have an open ear, and I'll be always intent on working with administrators to do what's best for the students. Thank you.
Thank you, Prince. Jonathan, you have 1 minute.
I have no disagreements with Prince on the biggest issues affecting students around campus. I think there are also some structural issues that underlie these issues, and I think these can be the focus of my campaign if you want to differentiate the two of us. I think the two biggest structural issues are the way that academic and non-academic bodies currently govern our time through the schedule and the opportunities provided to students. So I think one issue that affects the rising cost of tuition and the low graduation rate is the fact that so much of our time is currently filled up with things. There's less time for people to come together as clubs, come together as roommates, and to create new projects and really to just enjoy themselves. I also think that in terms of opportunities provided to students, there's openings for things like service project credit, openings for students teaching classes. I think that these can provide more engagement, and that
That's time. Finish your thought.
That with more time, then the systemic issues on campus could be addressed better by the student body as a whole.
So our first question, Prince, you get to answer first. The Commission on Undergraduate Experience is developing a proposal that may change general education requirements. How do you plan to ensure that student opinions are incorporated when developing that proposal? You have 2 minutes.
So, as the founders spoke, the Commission on Undergraduate Experience is working to try to reshape how general education requirements are seen here at CASE. Over the course of this past year, representatives from the Academic Affairs Committee, along with myself, have already worked to determine what the student body wants from general education requirements. There has been speak amongst administration to put forward a proposal that 100% of general education requirements be taken at CASE. I personally am not in favor of that. I think one of the biggest problems that students at CASE have is the inability to reach across majors, reach across departments, reach across schools, and take classes in, things that they're not majoring in, but that they're just interested in. There's so much pressure for each and every one of us to be on the engineering track, the pre-med track, the pre-law track, whatever it may be, that so much of the joy of learning is often sucked out in that process. Going forward next year, I think the biggest thing that I want to focus on is feedback from the student body on what they think general education requirements, general education breadth requirements at CASE should look like, whether they think all classes should be taken at Case Western or whether they should have the chance to take classes at summer schools elsewhere or receive AP credit. The biggest thing that I want is for the students of Case Western to be fulfilled, to reach a point at the end of their 4 years or 6 years at CASE where they feel like they've learned something, but also feel like they've learned something about something that they never thought that they would be interested in, something that they just happened to come across.
Jonathan, same question.
Could you repeat the question?
Sure. The Commission on Undergraduate Experience is developing a proposal that may change general education requirements. How do you plan to ensure that student opinions are incorporated when developing that proposal?
So I think one problem is something that we can all see when looking around us right now. It's all the empty seats in this room. I think there's kind of a pervasive student apathy, and Only 2 weeks ago did I actually learn that the Committee on Undergraduate Experience actually existed. And I think one thing that we can do is to be the people who communicate to everyone else at school that this exists, that we need to hear people's voices, and that we need to go past not just the surface level concerns about professors who are maybe negligent in being accommodating to students, but also really get to the core of what troubles students. So in terms of the specific proposal to make 100% of the general education requirements be taken here at Case, I think I would agree with Prince, and that's just really being kind of dismissive of the situations of transfer students, of students who took all their AP classes and don't have the means to take all their classes here at CWRU.
Great, thank you. Second question, this is for Jonathan. The admissions policy was changed this past fall to allow undergraduate admissions to use a student's family income as a factor in their admission. How will you continue the conversation surrounding that policy next year?
So I think USG this past year did a really good job about passing a resolution about this issue, and by making sure that in the next couple of years that the administration then goes to review this policy of being need aware and to evaluate whether or not it actually changed how they admit new students. I think this is another issue where the administration has its own decent justification from their perspective, but I think where maybe they could have listened to the students more. And I think this all wraps back up into the tuition issue. Tuition was just raised 3% again this past year. It's now over $47,000. I mean, that is crazy. And the administration justifies it by saying that other schools are raising it more. And I don't think that's a fair justification. And I think the fact that the budget is so complex and such a labyrinth to get through is definitely one of the areas where the university fails to communicate with students as well. And I think that in addition to the need aware policy needs to be pushed back against.
All right, Prince, same question.
So, as a lot of you probably know, the purpose of the need aware policy was to try to increase underrepresented minority representation at Case. This was done through, in very layman's terms, increasing the number of upper class students that were accepted who could pay the full sticker price, with the hopes that more money can be reallocated to helping underrepresented minority students, especially in the lowest socioeconomic class, make Case affordable. The problem that arose is within the middle class and within the lower middle class specifically, where there was a tremendous fear that student populations within that specific socio-demographic would drop. Over the past year, way at the beginning of the year, former Vice President of Academic Affairs RuPaul, myself, President Ward, and UDC executive members engaged in conversations with President Snyder, Provost Baselick, Chris Sheridan, amongst other administrators, to really push for the legislation that Representative Thompson pioneered, in that we want numbers and we want specifics. We were already met with our first batch of numbers a few weeks ago, which was disseminated we were met with a breakdown of socioeconomic classes at Case, which was disseminated amongst the undergraduate student body. I think the biggest thing that we can do is to continuously survey the undergraduate student body to see what our socioeconomic breakdown looks like, to ask for these numbers and to fight for these numbers. We've put initial straws in place to make sure that if something terrible happens, that we can step in and fix it. The last thing that we want in Case is, a complete lack of a middle class. I think all this leads into the bigger question of diversity, and I don't think that we should be advocating for diversity just for the sake of advocating for diversity. I think we should be doing so because students of diverse backgrounds bring more to the Case Western undergraduate community.
Thank you, Prince. The next question is for you. Some nursing students at CWRU feel that they are not getting adequate support in their education, especially after cuts to the study abroad program. How do you plan to address their concerns?
I think the first and foremost thing that we can do with that is try to increase our representation of undergraduate nursing students amongst the undergraduate student body. Right now, we only have one undergraduate nursing major amongst the USG, and I think one of the strongest things that we can do to create a bridge between administration, between the nursing school, is to try to get more representation from their student group demographics. Apart from that, I intend on very specifically talking with heads of the nursing departments at the Case Western Nursing School to try to ensure that nursing students are met with the exact same opportunities that students in engineering and biochem and whatever else are met with. I think it's extremely unfair to say that one specific demographic of students, just because of more regulated clinical hours or more regulated classes, shouldn't be able to have the opportunities that their students have. And I think, a big thing that I would like to work on is working with these new hopeful representatives from the Undergraduate Nursing Students Association from that demographic, is to try to call for more attention and push for better policy amongst the nursing schools.
Right. Jonathan, same question.
I agree with Prince. I think more nurses in undergraduate student government would definitely help with the issue. I think one thing I've heard from everyone I know who's a nurse is that their hours are just ridiculous. They get up early, they go to sleep late, they don't get a lot of sleep, and a lot of nurses end up burning out. And I think even though a lot of people may roll their eyes at the whole idea of being able to adjust the schedule to reflect the students' biological and cultural needs on campus, but nurses may not have time to be in USG if they're constantly running back between classes, if they want to spend time with their friends, if they want to be able to call their parents even. And so I think this is an issue that can be talked about with the nursing students, with the administration of the nursing program, in order to make sure that nurses have more resources, that they don't burn out, that they have the flexibility in their schedule in order to accommodate all the things that they do want to do here at CASE. And I think it is important to reach out to ambitious nursing students who, even while they're busy here, they want to join USG and contribute to the conversation. So, I think that's all I need to say.
Next question is yours, Jonathan. During last year's debate, we asked a question about the lack of support humanities majors are receiving. Do you feel like there has been any progress on this front?
I don't want to have my lack of knowledge betray the truth on this issue, so I don't know about any specific changes of the past year that have gone to supporting the humanities majors more. Perhaps Prince could correct me, but in my mind the issue still stands the same as it did before. Humanities majors are definitely underrepresented not only in tours, but also in just the publicity of Case Western, not to mention administrative and financial support. And one of the things that was in my letter of intent that I think could help benefit humanities majors is having something called an uncommon fund, where a portion of the student allocation would go to support a pool of money that would not go just to clubs, but to go to individual students or groups that have ideas that they think would open students' minds to new ideas, or fun events that would make the undergraduate experience better. And this would be voted on. The best proposal would be voted on by all students. And so I think more opportunities like this could help engage humanities majors. I think having student-taught classes, engaging the well-educated humanities students to go out and educate the other people in the STEM fields more about the topics that they're interested in. And I think while having all general education requirements be taken here at CASE is definitely a step too far, I think CASE wants to move in the right direction in terms of having students have a full breadth of education. So I think another thing we could do to help support the humanities is in SAGES have sort of standard set of discussion questions that are talked about, and also go over all the different majors that are possible here at CASE. Because I think a lot of interesting departments kind of go unnoticed by a lot of students who are just on one track.
Same question.
So, I think that there's been legwork put in over the course of this past year to improve the experience for humanities majors, for humanities students at CASE, but I think there's still a lot left to do. To speak specifically about two things that were done over the course of this past year, a few months ago, Representative Wood over there actually brought up in one of these academic affairs meetings that co-op and internship opportunities for humanities majors are often limited. That was something that I hadn't really thought about before, to be quite honest, and that was something that I brought back to the Q and that I discussed. One of the 5Q thinking groups is on experiential learning, which traditionally means just co-ops and internships, which is so often associated with engineers, with pre-meds, with shadowing doctors, so on and so forth. I think that we going to Case Western Reserve have this tremendous opportunity to have these great institutes such as Cleveland Institute of Art, MoCA around us, where there's so many opportunities to engage in so many fields of study past just engineering, and that we really don't make best use of it. So through advocacy at these various meetings, through the Q and through CWRU, I very strongly fought for more experiential learning opportunities to be delegated to, or to be offered to humanities students. That's something that I brought up, and that's something that I plan on continuing to fight for over the course of next year. So that's on the advocacy front. Another piece of advocacy related is a few weeks ago there was a proposal put forward by the Case School of Engineering, or SAGES, for the opportunity for a first seminar SAGES to be engineering based, if so desired, by intended engineering majors. This initially came in saying that all intended engineering students would have to take this, engineering related SAGES class. I think the SAGES class, I think this opportunity. I basically fought for not making this mandatory for all introductory engineering students, and to try to make it, and rather make it something that's an opt-in program, so that students have the opportunity to explore programs and disciplines across other fields of study.
Great, thank you. The last question, students have the opportunity to make up questions and submit them for this debate. Of the questions submitted, the observer selected the following. Francis, for you. How do you plan to improve access to career development programs for humanities and social science students, particularly? Okay. You just touched on this, but it's simple.
Okay, yeah, I just touched on this, but that's the biggest thing. I think the biggest thing that we can do is try to strengthen our relationships between these institutes that are around us, to try to improve opportunities and connections for humanities and social science majors. Apart from that, I think for me as an engineer, one of my strongest connections has been with professors that I've met, and I think that mentor-mentee relationship is something that's so strong in terms of opening doors for future job opportunities, co-op opportunities, internship opportunities, and life after college. I think trying to improve mentor-mentee relationships through improved advising between faculty advisor and a student is a really strong step that we can take to try to create these more interpersonal relationships, with the hope that humanities majors have the opportunity to almost latch on to a professor in a field that they see themselves one day going towards, with the hopes that those professors can open doors for them to, go on these internship and co-op opportunities.
All right. Same question, Jonathan.
Okay, I think Prince touched on a really good point, which is the lack of good standards for advising. I met with both Prince and Nishu before deciding to run, and this was an issue that came up during both of our conversations. This is an idea that Prince had the idea was to have older students be mentors for younger students in order to bring them in and just give them good advice. And I think another area we can improve is faculty advising. So having good ways to check how faculty advisors are doing, especially within the BME department, as I've heard, where to make sure that faculty are staying on top of their students, they're not just clicking the off registration and going on their way. Because I think the thing that will improve career development most for people in the humanities and non-STEM fields is them having a solid undergraduate experience. So having their academic time be resourceful, having benefiting from their time in the classroom, their connection with the professor, and then also benefiting from their extracurricular time. I think there's definitely room to tie in student organizations and the related departments more, not just in terms of funding, but in terms of faculty guidance, in order for students to sort of build an identity around what they're studying and what they aim to do. I also agree with what Prince said in terms of, making the engineering stages non-mandatory for everyone. I think that's ridiculous, and I think another way that you can strengthen the experience of students in humanities fields is by having them be able to go out and take what they learn to other students. And I think when you have a good SAGES class, that's the humanities field, doing a good job at reaching out to other students at the school.
All right, great. Now it's time for closing statements from candidates. Jonathan, since you went second in opening statements, you'll go first now. You have 1 minute.
I'm honored just to be up here. That's what I'll start with. I think Prince, having already held the position and being a great guy, would be fantastic in the position again. And I don't want to take any of that away from him. I wanted to come up here, say my ideas, run on those, offer students a choice so that students can explore the issues, students become more aware, and that even by just campaigning, more people get involved, more people take a look at the issues, then I will consider that a success. Final things, I have experience being in 2 years of executive positions at Glee Club. I'm now the business manager. For those of you who know, I also started a club this past year, Campus Rest Initiative. It's not that important, but I've been willing to put a lot of work in order to start an organization and do fun and interesting things. That being said, next year, if I have this position, it'll be my #1 priority. Thank you again.
Prince, closing statements.
I think there can be a lot said about someone with a genuine heart and a genuine mind to try to enact good, and I think Jonathan brings both of those things to this table. Serving as your Vice President of Academic Affairs in this past year has been, one of the greatest things that I've had the opportunity to do in my life. It brings me a lot of joy to see so many of my committee members in the audience that were there. And, I think the biggest thing and the most important thing to realize is that it's not about me, it's about them, and it's about all of you. I'm merely a liaison. I'm merely a facilitator of change. I help them to do the things they do to try to improve all of your lives, and that's what I want to try to continue on doing next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Prince. Thank you, Jonathan. That concludes the debate for academic affairs. You'll have a 10-minute break before we begin the debate for student life.